Welcome, everyone, to the history of the programming block that, for me, was and always will be the block of George Lopez.
I could be Italian. Try the cannolis. Forget about it. I know a guy. Whatcha? Bing!
That's right. It's time to talk about Nick at Nite. Seriously, that's pretty much the only thing I remember about Nick at Nite. I don't remember watching any other shows on it, and that's probably because I was almost always in bed by the time it was airing. But nonetheless, the story of Nick at Nite is an interesting one that apparently goes back far longer than I thought, back to Nickelodeon's earliest days as a network. Yep, as you were probably expecting, this is going to be a long one, so let's get into it. Our story begins in 1981, when Nickelodeon's schedule was reduced to 13 hours, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. For the 11 hours that Nickelodeon wasn't airing, a fine arts-oriented channel called Alpha Repertory Television Services, or ARTS, took over the channel space. However, in 1983, ARTS merged with the Entertainment Channel, and the time slot was given to the resulting block A&E. Yes, that A&E. However, it wasn't its own channel yet. That didn't happen until 1984, when ABC, NBC, and Hearst Corporation announced that it would be spun off into its own 24-hour channel. The time slot left behind was now wide open for Nickelodeon to do whatever they wanted with it. So, MTV president Bob Pittman asked Nickelodeon general manager Geraldine Laybourne to come up with something to fill in the time slot. However, she had a bit of trouble coming up with original programming for it, so she turned to MTV founding members Alan Goodman and Fred Seibert. What they came up with was a block showcasing the golden oldies of television, something that hadn't before been done on television, modeled after the greatest hits of all time theme popular on the radio. And so it was that on July 1st, 1985, Nick at Nite, 3 individual words, was launched. As alluded to before, Nick at Nite was dedicated to classic TV shows. Its launch programming included Lassie, Dennis the Menace, The Donna Reed Show, and Route 66. It's also worth noting, though, that even at launch, Nick at Nite did have some newer shows, like National Geographic Explorer and Turkey Television. As the decade wore on, the block acquired more and more classics from the early days of television, but it wasn't until 1989 that it finally saw its first original series on the television. After that, it got another original series, Hi Honey, I'm Home, in 1991. However, it wouldn't be until over a decade later, when Inside TV Land premiered in 2002, that it would see another original series. For its 10th and 20th anniversaries in 1995 and 2005 respectively, Nick at Nite aired episodes from just about every show that had ever aired on the block up to each of those points, complete with a special logo for each milestone. By the 2000s, Nick at Nite had begun airing reruns of more recent shows from the 90s and 2000s, like Wings, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Full House, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, The Jeff Foxworthy Show, Mad About You, News Radio, Home Improvement, and yes, George Lopez. In fact, I distinctly remember a commercial that I saw on Noggin or Nickelodeon in the late 2000s, where George Lopez himself gets lost in Dora the Explorer on Nick Jr., and with the help of Dora and Boots, he finds his way back to Nick at Nite. Now, I really wanted to show you guys this commercial. In fact, I was going to put it at the beginning of this video, but devastatingly, the commercial is lost. I couldn't find it anywhere. In fact, there is a thread on the Lost Media Wiki about it where I found these captures. What a horrible shame. If anyone knows where I might find this commercial, please, for the love of late 2000s nostalgia, let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, tell me where I can find bumpers or recordings or anything significant relating to the long-lost on-demand brand Studio 4 Networks. Seriously, I vividly remember Studio 4 Networks from my childhood, and yet to this day, there is next to nothing on the internet about it, and it's been driving me crazy for years. But I digress. Anyway, as you may have guessed, I suppose you could say that Nick at Nite had become a place where major networks repurposed their old shows. aka where their shows went to die. I suppose when you put it that way it sounds like a bad thing, but really it's not all bad. If you enjoyed watching some of these shows in the 90s, here was a place where you could easily find them again. But at the same time, Nick at Nite wasn't getting very many original shows at all, and more original shows could have promoted it more, given it a boost. Now let's talk logos. Usually I don't talk about network logos much, especially in my more recent history videos, but this time I'll make an exception because the logo history of Nick at Nite is quite interesting. It was originally going to use a logo in the style of the pre-1984 Nickelodeon logo, but this never happened. Instead, it launched with a logo that very much stood out from the main Nickelodeon logo, with a completely different font and feel to it. This logo kept gradually being updated throughout the first 20 or so years of Nick at Nite's life. In 2002, they designed a new logo that was radically different from the previous logo, but this was never used, being rejected in favor of an update to the 1992 logo that borrowed features from the rejected logo, such as the blue circle. In 2007, a completely new logo was finally utilized, a logo with the outline of the 2006 version of the Splat logo and different contrasting fonts. This is, in my opinion, the best logo they ever used because it was the most unique and the best looking one. Sadly though, this was not to last, for in late 2009, its logo was updated along with the rest of Nickelodeon to the vastly inferior style that they still use to this day. But it gets worse. The 2009 version of the new Nick at Nite logo had different colors for each portion of the logo, but then, in 2012, they made it all orange for no good reason. Seriously? It was already bad enough when they got rid of the iconic Splat logo. Did they really have to get rid of the one last thing that this new Nick at Nite logo had going for it? I swear. Nick at Nite kept declining throughout the 2010s, and by 2021, it had lost most of its shows. As of 2023, it only airs 2 shows. Friends, and Mike and Molly. It doesn't even air George Lopez anymore. Sad, I know. So I think it's fair to say that Nick at Nite is only barely hanging on. With the switch away from traditional television, who knows if Nick at Nite will even survive the 2020s. It is impressive, though, that Nick at Nite has managed to survive for nearly 40 years, instead of just dying out like other Nickelodeon programming blocks, such as Snick and Nick Rewind. Let's hope it can hold on for as long as possible. Let me know in the comments, what do you think the future holds for Nick at Nite? How much longer do you think it will last? Anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned.